What's up, everybody? I'm ZWade, the ZWade, and ZWade Photo, and today we are going to be doing a setup for the ZFC. Now, I haven't done this yet on the ZFC. I went out and shot it, just the only thing I changed was RAW. And so I wanted to bring you along as I set this ZFC up the way that I set up all of my Nikon cameras. The menu systems have looked pretty much the same since I started shooting Nikon. And so I know this pretty well, and I know exactly what I want. And so if you want to make some tweaks here and there, you do that. This is just the way that I set it up. But before I do, I want to invite you to ZWadePhoto.com. Swing by, check out my personal art portfolio if you want. Swing by the print shop and pick you up a print. Okay, now we're in the menus. The playback menu is first here. Probably just leave all of this the same for now. I don't tend to look at images that much out in the field, so I don't really know that this is worth anything. But the rotate tall is nice to have on, and so you can turn that on if you want, if you do like reviewing images in the field. So moving down to the shooting menu. File naming, DSC. I changed this to where it's ZW. It's ZWade. And for this one, C. And crop sensor. That way I know. So for my Z6, it's ZW6 or ZW7. Whenever I was shooting the Z7 too. And so this will be ZWC just because it's, you know, crop sensor. That way I'll know. Image area, obviously, you know, I keep it in DX or FX if I'm shooting the Z6 too. Image quality, I want this to be RAW. On this particular camera, having one card slot, I'm fine with just having a single RAW file. On my Z6 II, I'll do RAW plus JPEG fine. But we're just going to keep this one RAW. RAW recording, 14 bits, fine. ISO sensitivity. I want this to just be off, right? I don't want the camera making any decisions. White balance, I'm fine with auto because I shoot in RAW. On picture control, I like neutral. Whenever, and it will show you looking through the viewfinder. I like to be on neutral or standard. There's not that much difference, but those kind of give me closest to what things actually look like. I don't want there to be like an edited look in my viewfinder. Manage picture control. We don't need to mess with that. Color space, sRGB. Active delighting off. Long exposure noise reduction off. I don't want the camera doing anything for me. You'll see this as a theme. High ISO noise reduction. Typically, I just leave this off. It's a RAW file, so it really doesn't matter, I don't think. Vignette control, off. Diffraction compensation, off. Auto distortion control, off. Flicker reduction shooting, I have that off, but in some scenarios you do need to turn that on. Like if you're in like a gymnasium, that will come in handy. So remember that, but if you shoot like I shoot, the kind of things I shoot, you'll never use it, so just turn it off. Metering, I like spot metering 99% of the time. And so we'll keep that in spot metering. Flash mode, you know, we'll just turn this off. You can do this in the actual I menu. Flash compensation, we don't need to mess with. Release mode, we're not going to mess with right now. We can do that in the I menu. Same thing with focus mode. You know, we don't need bracketing right now. HDR off, interval time shooting off, time-lapse video off. You turn those on as you need them. Silent photography off. Video recording, you know, 1080-60 is where I keep it. You set this up how you want it. But again, my picture control, I set it to neutral. Auto white balance. ISO sensitivity settings. Yeah, just set this at the max, you know. Auto ISO control, I'm going to turn that off. And then we're good there. Don't need any of that. Active delighting off. We're going to turn off the high ISO noise reduction. We're going to turn off the vignette control. Now, if I'm going to be shooting a lot of video, I may turn some of those on, but diffraction compensation. Here in the studio where I'll be using this camera all the time, it doesn't matter. Flicker reduction, you can keep that at auto. Metering, matrix metering. You could do center weighted if you want. I don't even mess with that at all. Matrix metering is fine for video. You can change all of this in the I menu, so we're not going to mess with that. But I am going to set the AF area mode to auto area AF people, because in the studio it actually does a really good job of like following my face. And so we'll leave that on. Electronic VR, I don't know why that's off, but yeah, we'll turn that on. I might have to experiment with that. I haven't messed with that. Actually, since I haven't messed with it, we'll leave it off. Microphone sensitivity. If it's anything like the Z6 II, we'll set this at 9. Because that's what I have my Saramonic lav mic. On the Z6 II, which is recording me right now, this never changes between here and the camera. So I know that that works at 9. Attenuator, we'll leave that off for now. Frequency response, I want that wide. Wind noise reduction can stay off. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes here. So autofocus section here. I like to set this on release. Now, it can be handy, and I did this for years, to do it on focus, which means it doesn't shoot until it focuses. But sometimes it's like it's just being a pain or whatever, and it just kind of gets annoying sometimes, like when you can't get it to focus. And so I leave that on release. And we're going to set the AFC priority to release. Blocked shot AF response. I'm going to leave this in the center. I've played with this a little bit, and I don't really know that there's a huge difference, but we're going to use all points in the focus points used, which it's inherently set up at. AF activation on, shutter and AF on. Limit area mode selection. I just keep all of these on. You never know when you're gonna want them, and they should all be in the I menu. Focus point wraparound, you want this on. That means whenever you bring your focus point all the way over to the edge, it'll actually pop to the other side when you go one past as far as you can go in any direction. And A9 focus point options, manual focus mode on. Yeah, we want that. Dynamic area AF assist, we can leave that on. A10 low light AF, I leave that on, but on the built-in AF assist illuminator, I turn that off. I think it's a little bit annoying. All right, now we're into B1. Easy exposure compensation. I'll turn that off. Center weighted area. I don't really use that, so leave that off. Fine tune optimal exposure. Exposure compensation icon is not displayed when exposure is altered from the default value. Continue? No, I'm not going to mess with that. None of this really matters because I just shoot in manual. I'm going to leave that off for now. We don't need to do anything with self-timer. The power off delay. I like to increase this a little bit on the playback. Just 20 seconds. Menus, 1 minute is fine. Picture review, 10 seconds. And standby timer. 30 seconds tends to be fine most of the time, but I'm going to set that to a minute. CL mode shooting speed. Its default is 3, but I mean, why not set it to 4 if it says it'll do it? Maximum shot bird, I don't need to mess with that. Exposure delay mode, yeah, off on that. Shutter type, I want mechanical shutter as often as I can do it. And so I set this to mechanical shutter, and I change that if I have to, but don't play around with the auto. You want to make the decision of whether you're going to risk having banding or not. Extended shutter speeds on. File number sequence on. Apply settings to live view on. Framing grid display, that can be kind of nice if you're specifically shooting with the rule of thirds. But I typically leave it off until I actually need it. I find it to be distracting if I'm just shooting most of the kind of things that I shoot. Focus peaking level, I set it to high sensitivity, and I change the color as needed, but typically blue seems to work for me most of the time. View all in continuous mode, I turn that off. Flash sync speed, I'm going to leave that alone. Flash shutter speed, I'm going to leave that alone. Exposure comp on flash, we'll leave that alone. Custom iMenu, this is where you can set up what is in your iMenu. And for the most part, I don't really use a lot of the stuff in here, but I like to have my picture control in there. That way I can make sure that what I see through the EVF is the neutral setting. I like having image quality, so I can make sure that I'm shooting in RAW. Flash, I don't use this. I like having my focus peaking in the iMenu. That way I can change the color of it if I want. Obviously, AF area mode, your focus mode, you know, autofocus or manual focus. I can quickly switch behind that, especially with the 28mm f2.8. It doesn't have a switch on it, so I'll have to switch manual and autofocus in the eye menu. Vibration reduction is nice to have on there. I don't mess with active D-lighting. I like having the metering in there because on occasion I do switch from spot metering. Image size, I'll double check that. And white balance doesn't really matter. If I could get rid of some of this stuff, I don't know if you can, but there'd be like 4 or 5 things in this eye menu. Custom controls. Okay, this is really important to me because this is where we're going to be able to set our function buttons. And so the function button on the front, I'm going to set that to where that brings up my menu. So the AEL-AFL button, I want that to be AF on because I want a back button focus with it. Oh, the OK button, I'm okay with that being reset. That can stay the same. Lens function, AE-AF, that's what I use my other ones for. This is factory set, but I use them for what the Nikon recommends they get used for. We can leave the custom controls on the playback. In custom command dials, I'm going to leave all this the same. Refresh indicators, we're not going to mess with that. Into the video settings, I'm fine just having this the way that it is. Microphone sensitivity is on there, quality is on there, picture control. Yeah, focus mode, focus area, that's all fine. AF speed, yeah, I just gave it a +3. AF tracking sensitivity, high. I don't know how much that actually gives you. That's why I didn't go all the way high. I just went like a step below it because I don't know how much effect it has. I've never tested it. Highlight display, we're just going to leave that alone. I've never messed with it and I've never had issues in the Z6 II, so that tells me that I'm probably not missing very much. Information display, I like dark on light, but you know, if you like light on dark, then you know, whatever. You do you. AF fine-tune options, leave that off. I've never had any issues needing to fine-tune, so I'm not worried about that. Non-CPU lens data, I don't have any lenses anymore that I would use this, but if you do have like some old F-mount or contactless lenses or anything like that, then you can go in and you can set up individual lenses. If you need a video on that, let me know. I can do that for you, but image comment off, copyright information off. You could turn that on if you want, but I leave it off. Beep options, I actually like it to beep whenever it achieves focus. So we'll leave that on. Touch controls on, that's good. Self-portrait mode, never used it, but we'll just leave it on. HDMI output resolution, that's probably fine on auto, but we'll set this to 1080p just because I don't know if maybe it will go lower than that at some point. Airplane mode off, connect to smart device. Eventually I will probably pair this to my phone. For now, we're not going to mess with that. We don't need it to connect to a computer. We don't need a wireless remote right now. Conformity marking, don't even know what that is. USB power delivery on, so like if you wanted to charge this, you should be able to do that. Energy saving photo mode, I don't know what that is, and so I'm going to turn that off because I don't know what the effects of that is. We could probably see. Energy saving activates to reduce the drain on the battery if no operations are performed for a set period in photo mode. Oh, okay, that seems fun. Okay, so slot empty release lock. I like to actually change that. I don't want the shutter firing if there's no card in there. It's just like a safety precaution. Like this only has one card slot, and so if I forget to put it in, like it won't fire and I'll know right away that I forgot to put it in. Now my ZFC is set up the way that I want for now for starting out. I could go through and make a couple of changes. I hope this video helped you. If there's anything specific that you would like me to dive into in the Nikon menu system, please let me know in the comments below. I'm ZWade, the ZWade, and ZWade Photo, and I will catch you in the next one.